Thank you, Jeff. And staying with the subject of police shootings, but on the other side, we are digging deeper into police use of force. On Monday, our partners at Investigative Post reported that Buffalo police training for use of force lags behind other departments of similar size. Now, following that story, Buffalo police refused our interview requests. But tonight, we are investigating how use of force training applies to real life. 2 on Your Side's Danny Spiewak has obtained and reviewed department records to track every single shot fired by Buffalo police over the past 5 years. Here are his findings.
Some Buffalo police officers will go their whole careers without ever firing a gun in the line of duty. It's not common, but it does happen. The last time police wounded a suspect was September of 2015, when an officer shot an armed robbery suspect in a West Side neighborhood. The last fatal police encounter happened almost 4 years ago, in December of 2012, when an officer opened fire on a suspect speeding away from police in a car. Whenever an officer fires a shot in the line of duty, they have to file a firearms use report with the Buffalo Police Department. And under the Freedom of Information law in New York State, we requested these documents all the way back to 2011. The incidents are mixed. Some of the police shootings included in the records were already widely reported to the public, but others were unknown outside of these internal firearms use reports, like this one in February of 2015 on the East Side. An officer fired one time at a suspect fleeing in a vehicle. There was no protective cover, the officer wrote, but the shot was necessary to protect self. The reports also tell us new details about other incidents from the past 5 years, like the fact that an officer was forced to fire from 25 to 30 feet away during an armed home invasion in June of 2016 after a suspect had opened fire. In all, our analysis of the firearms use reports reveals that officers have fired at least 19 shots at suspects or vehicles or during patrol over the past 5 years. 3 fatal shootings occurred during that time period, all in 2012. But the majority of police shootings don't even target suspects. They target dogs. Police have now shot 116 dogs in the line of duty since 2011, according to the records. 2 on Your Side first investigated the issue of police shooting dogs back in 2014, when pit bulls like Rocky and Cindy were among the dozens killed by police.
Take a step and see what happens.
After our story aired, Buffalo Police implemented video training developed by the Department of Justice. The shootings of dogs continue to happen, but not nearly as often as they did before the training, according to the records. We were the first to report the frequency in which Buffalo police officers were shooting dogs, and we appear to be the first to try to track police shootings with suspects in the city of Buffalo. But this is very difficult to compare to the rest of the country because there is no national database of police shootings. But the FBI and the Department of Justice are making an attempt to change that.
And without that understanding, we don't have a good place to start to fix the problem.
Adam Cohen is the special agent in charge of the FBI's Buffalo office. In 2017, the FBI will develop a pilot program to finally start collecting data on police shootings. Agencies are already obligated to report fatal shootings, but under the FBI's new system, they will have to report every time an officer even fires a shot at a suspect.
The important thing will be that the data will be collected at a national level and will be made available to the entire public for them to look at and draw their own conclusions about what that data tells us.
This kind of data could even help compare Buffalo to other agencies in Western New York. 2 high-profile police shootings have already happened in 2016 outside of the city of Buffalo.
Radio, got a gun out on me, outside.
In Cheektowaga this March, an officer shot and killed an armed man in a parking lot of a Best Western. In Niagara Falls this September, an officer wounded a suspect during a drug raid. But we only have these anecdotes to look at, not hard data.
The people need to get acquainted with the police.
For perspective, we turn to retired Buffalo police officer Theodore Kirkland. He's encouraged by the FBI's pilot program.
Well, if they're tracking with the purpose of doing something about, that's fine. And I think there's a lot that can be done. I personally think there should be additional training. We should include multicultural training.
In Buffalo, the firearms use reports don't clearly show the race or gender of the officers or suspects involved. Eventually, the FBI data could include this from agencies across the country.
We need the data in order to come to some conclusions about what is taking place and then come up with some solutions to address any problems that are found.
And it could take a couple of years for the FBI to be able to study this data, though. The first phase of the pilot program will track use of force by federal law enforcement agencies, and then at that point they will start drawing from state and local agencies. And Mary Alice, it's not just police shootings they're going to be tracking. They'll also be tracking other uses of force, tasers, batons, physical confrontations, that sort of thing.
Really interesting. I mean, it's the hottest issue in the country right now. And we also mentioned it earlier, but Buffalo police, when you requested from the city for them to sit down and do an interview, they wouldn't let you?
Yeah, Mary Alice, we actually had an interview scheduled, and it was scheduled on Tuesday this week, just yesterday, but the department spokesperson called and abruptly canceled that interview. They were objecting to our investigative Post Partners story about the department's use of force training, which aired on Monday night. However, today I did get a call from the lieutenant just a couple of hours ago. He did tell me some of the things that we were looking for, that the department has been tracking these incidents, that Internal Affairs is involved any time an officer fires, and secondly, with the training for dog encounters, the lieutenant told me that they're still in the process of training every officer. They have about half of the department done. So those were some of the questions that we wanted to get answered, and we got some of them today.
Would have been nice, though, for them to sit down and explain all that to you. It sounds like important training.
Certainly, we'll be following this for the next couple of weeks as well.
All righty, we look forward to it. Thank you, Dan.